Okay, now we will talk about building a fabric right now. We will talk how we can actually take these concepts up a notch and create something more complex. The banners, the applications, all good and fun, but let's actually do something more sophisticated. You remember that we have this setup with two leaves, one spine. They all connected with two interfaces from leaves to spines. Nothing configured on them. No IP addresses, no routing protocols, no BGP, just the links, and that's it. What we want to do is we want to create a fabric. Now, what a fabric is a mixture of things. You want to create an underlay routing. You want to configure IP addresses with, links with IP addresses so that the links can work. Your IGP should work. Then you have the overlay protocol, which can be eBGP for your EVPN prefixes. So there is a lot of things that one needs to do. By doing this manually, I know people have like battle scars from configuring EVPN for the first time. There's a lot of things, policies. Yeah, it's crazy. So what can we do with this, right? How can we put EDA to a good use and configure something as complex as a fabric with as little input as possible, and reliable and fast and automatable? So we will have to look at the concept that we call the reusable components. There is an application called Fabric. The Fabric application will take in some inputs. That is your links that we defined in our EDA playground. That is the nodes that we have, two leaves and two spines. And then we also have physical interfaces. This is all we have right now. And our Fabric application can take in those inputs and create a lot of outputs based on that. It will create the default VRF, the policy to exchange the routes, the prefix sets, the route reflectors, if you use the IBGP for the overlay. A lot of things this application needs to take care of. But instead of Fabric application itself create the node configuration, it will create those components first. And these components will create the node configuration. This is why we call this reusable components. That means that other application, not Fabric, can be something else, can use these components in their work. Right? So it's kind of like a Lego building blocks that you use in the system to create the complex abstractions. You leverage them. These are your ammunition, and you use it to build a better abstraction that you expose to a user. You, of course, can use these tools directly. You can create a policy. You saw there is a lot of applications that when we use the left sidebar and we scrolled over it, but you don't have to. If you want to create a fabric, you don't want to manually create all the interface. You don't want to create the loopbacks. You want to have a nice abstracted way of creating a fabric. But simple is hard. You remember, this nice diagram is actually this. There is a lot of direct lines between the two dependencies. One object creates another. There's like a spider web of things. That is why when we go to conferences like Autocon, Nanogs, and we see people trying to build this in-house, it's not easy. It takes years to do that. And although it seems very easy to create a Jinja template that takes in an input and spits out the node configuration, the complexity comes later when you need to maintain it, when you need to do new versions, when you need to maybe introduce a new vendor, or you did a software upgrade and the configuration is not anymore the same way. That is why this stuff requires some smarts and effort. So let's actually create a fabric. This is our demo number 2. So remember, we don't have any configuration on the nodes. This is how we started. Now we will create the fabric that has an underlay and the overlay, of course. So we go to the Fabric application. It's here. You see I don't have any fabrics, empty table, nothing here. I click Create, and you will see that there's a lot of things that you can configure under the Fabric app. Like if I scroll down, this is like a never-ending list of things that you can configure. So you might ask where the simplification comes from if there is like this long list of things. The reason it is that long is that the Fabric application that we provide as part of EDA embedded apps we wanted to make sure that you configure all the node knobs, right? That is why it's so long. There's like BFD, 5 different BFD configurations, all the good things that you can do. Of course, for you, you might want to say, I don't even need like half of that stuff. I need a few sensible inputs. The rest can be either default or my pre-configured values that I do not touch at all. That is why this list is quite long, so that you can play with it and build a fabric up to your liking. But you don't need to fill all of this, of course. You have an option to, but you don't need to. So I will create a fabric, right? I will use my fabric. My fabric will be called my fabric, very original. I will select the namespace, the only one I have. Now, what I also have here is pre-canned example, actually. So what I will do, instead of filling this in the form, I have my fabric somewhere here. Yeah. So actually, what you can see here on the central screen is how my fabric is gonna look like. It's this 25 lines of YAML for the full fabric. It has a metadata, API version kind, the usual things that we discussed before. If you take all the metadata and API version lines out, it's going to be like 15 lines. So in 15 lines, what happens is I say for my interswitch links that are connecting your leaves and spines, I want to use a label selector. I want to select all the links that have been tagged with role equals interswitch. We have these tags applied as part of the EDA playground, so all of the links have been tagged either as interswitch or edge link, that is interswitch between the leaf and spines, edge links facing down towards the clients, the workloads. So for the link selector, take all the links that have been tagged. I don't care how many, like just take it all. For my leaves, take all the nodes that have been tagged with role leaf. This is here, right? Again, a label selector. I don't call out which nodes I want to use because I know that my fabric consists of leaf and spines. Everything that has been tagged with it, I want to use that. How about this, the overlay protocol? Just eBGP, nothing else. Whatever the BGP timers you want to use, I will use the defaults. Of course, I can tune some things, but I don't need to. And for you, it means that you can create your own fabric version that speaks to your use case and present the abstracted input to a user. It can be even boiled down to 2 fields, your fabric name and the operational stuff, like, I don't know, enabled or disabled. The rest can be by default. Even this is just default values. I just need to specify them because they're required, but you can pre-fill them in your own version of the fabric. And same thing here. For spines, I use the selector. For the system IPv4 pool, this is the loopbacks that I will configure on my nodes. I'm using a pool. I don't specify which IP address. I don't care. It's purely mechanical. I don't really need to know which loopbacks will be assigned. Just take one from the pool and it will be set up. And for the underlay, I say I will use the BGP, I will use the ASN pool, again, AS numbers, yeah, whatever you pick from the pool, whatever pool you have configured, take it from there, and it will use the numbers. And the underlay protocol will be eBGP as well. So it looks good, right? So I will just copy paste this, and instead of going through the form, I will paste it here. And while I paste it on the right-hand side, the values will be synced to the form. So you can select how you want to populate it. It can be a form in the central panel, or it can be a YAML file, and you can just copy paste it there. All right, so now we pre-filled some data here, right? We pre-filled this fabric, looks fantastic. I will commit it. So it will take a couple of seconds to do everything. So in a couple of seconds, we created the object in EDA, we pushed it to all of the nodes. We selected the IP address of the ASN numbers. We derived the configuration of the eBGP, iBGP, and assigned all the interfaces. It was really good. But you can also see here there's a nice little health bar that currently sits at 50. We'll talk about what health means, but you can also see if you pay close attention that this value will start to climb up online. So I don't hit refresh. Well, now it's 100. It's all streamed from the nodes to EDA. EDA calculates the state, the health score the health score metric, and display it for you here. We'll talk about state a bit more. This is very interesting. You can see that the UI will show things live. I never will hit refresh on the UI. It all comes up live. There's always a streaming to the backend to update values. But we'll talk about something interesting here. So now I configured my fabric, and I used eBGP with v4 pool, right? So now my fabric is actually this. Right? So I have this. I have the fabric with a predefined IP pool that I have configured, 12.0.0/8. My fabric has been converged. How do you know that the fabric is running, right? We just committed a resource. We saw this state transition to 100, but how do you really make sure? Well, of course, you can go to the CLI again, right? I'm here in my CLI. If I connect back to my leaf, I can see that my interfaces have been assigned a new IP address, so I can do show interface Ethernet 1, 2. These are my two interfaces. They have been assigned these fancy /31 addresses. These two interfaces are connecting my leaf to my spine, right? This is the interswitch link and the interswitch IP address that we have assigned from the pool. Now, this is great. I think I should be able to ping it, right? I should be able to ping the other IP addresses, and I can ping the loopbacks as well, because my assumption is that our fabric is working. So I can say ping 11.0.0.2. This is leaf 2 loopback address, network instance. What is that? Default. Okay, so loopbacks are working. We have interswitch links 12/8, loopbacks 11/8. So now I'm pinging from leaf 1, leaf 2 over my fabric. That means that the protocol that I use for the underlay is working. If I do info from running, just like info, you'll see that there is a lot of configuration now on the node. There is a bunch of things, the BGP stuff, the ESIs, some lags started to kick in. There's a lot of things that has happened. And this is all have been done by the Fabric app. Now, of course, there are probably a lot of questions in your head. What exactly has happened and how it happened? This is why we'll have a continuation of this demo, right? We'll have to do something else. Now we want to say, what if we can just configure the V6 in our fabric and switch from 4 to 6 in 5 seconds? We have been waiting for this for 25 years using IPv4 until the depletion. Now we want to switch to V6. We want our underlay to be V6. How would you do that? There's a lot of things that one needs to do to shift to V6. With Fabric app, it's actually not that hard. So what you need to do to change your underlay from V4 to V6 is actually quite simple. So if I go to my terminal, to my browser again, I can edit my resource. I can click on my fabric, select edit, and now I will go to my interswitch links. I will use my table of contents to make a quick navigation. So interswitch links section is here. You see that it says IPv4 pool for interswitch link IP. I'm very brave and courageous. I want to use V6 now, today. So if I do that, and I say commit, the fabric will recalculate a lot of things. It will take out the V4, it will get the V6 addresses, but not only addresses have been changed, there's like some protocols change as well. Some router advertisements needs to be configured. Some things needs to be done for this to make it work. But now if I go back to my leaf and I do show interface these two addresses that connected to spines, you can see that there is no V4 anymore. We now use 111/127 for my interswitch links. So it's all already there. And of course, if I ping my loopback of my neighbor, it all works as well. So my fabric has now been converged to use V6. There is no V4 in the underlay anymore. It happened instantaneously almost on my leaf and spines in my fabric. All right, so this is good. This is how we changed from 4 to 6 in 5 seconds.